This is Optimal Relationships Daily, episode 505. Why is it so hard to say I'm sorry? Part 2, by Katrina Norman of themomchronicle.com. Happy Friday, oldie friend. I'm Joss Marie, and welcome back to the podcast where I narrate all things relationship-based, which includes parenting-related content. And I'll actually be covering part 2 of a parenting post from Katrina Norman today. So if you're new here, check out yesterday's episode first to hear part 1. That's episode 504. But if you're here for part 2, then let's get right into it and start optimizing your life. Why is it so hard to say I'm sorry? Part 2, by Katrina Norman of themomchronicle.com. The two voices in my head are speaking two different things, judgment and justification. Judgment versus justification. Justification. He would have been fine if he hadn't snuck 2 pairs of jeans to his dad's and not brought them back. How is that my fault? Judgment. Really? Does that really justify a 37-year-old woman calling her son an ass when he's just an emotional 12-year-old? He already has told you he feels guilty for the way he talks to you. You just set the clock way back. Justification. But he was being an ass. It's the truth. Judgment. You sing for the kids' ministry at church. You are a teacher. What kind of role model are you? Justification. I have a child with impulse issues. He needs to understand that his behavior hurts relationships. He has to change. Tough love and all that. Judgment. You sucked at being a parent this morning, and you know it. The day is really hard. I am shaky and foggy, and I am rolling things over and over in my mind, trying to shape all of these bottled emotions into some form of sense. Can I take it all back? Admitting our mistakes can be so difficult. We find ourselves tossing and turning and justifying the decisions we have made, the actions we have taken. There is a perpetual adolescent voice in most of our adult brains, that teenage, self-centered, unteachable hormonal voice that says, "You didn't do anything wrong. Look at what he did. Look at what she did. She deserved what she got. Don't blame yourself. It's karma, fate. The cosmos is righting wrongs. You just helped it along." This is the insanity I lived in for a long time, justifying things I might say or do. The soft voice of truth drowned out by my adolescent invisible friend. The problem that arises when we give in to this voice is the loss of identity we begin to feel as we slip further away from the truth and further into our ego. We feed the ego, the problem starter, the part of us that grows larger with conflict and justification of our flawed behavior. This leads to insanity, to the inability to see the truth of who we are and head in a direction toward our best selves. As I work my program, I have begun to realize that feeding this ego robs me of myself. Not accepting the truth and instead reinforcing my skewed reality prevents me from seeing myself clearly. I present this version of myself that is not an honest representation, but a falsehood, and it affects all of my relationships. Because the more I reinforce this image of myself, the further I get from true authenticity. I am no longer able to form authentic, vulnerable connections. I am basing my relationships off a false version of myself. My children, my coworkers, my friends, they all see through it, and no matter how much I reassure myself, deep down, I know that I am not whole because I am hiding from myself. Why make amends? Amends are important because they keep us human. When we apologize and admit our wrongs, we begin to see the places in our lives that need improvement. We become vulnerable to ourselves and others, and this vulnerability takes courage. We become brave. People respect that. Through making amends, we learn and change and grow, and so do our relationships. We accept where we are and try to work to become the best versions of ourselves. What better way of finding grace for ourselves than by giving others the opportunity to demonstrate grace? When we seek amends, our friends often show us kindness. What better way to grow friendships and trust than honesty and the willingness to change our flaws to grow in our relationships? Where do I need to make amends? Personally, my amends need to be made mostly with my children. As parents, we often feel that we have to have all the answers. We can't admit our wrongs because our children won't admire us or look to us for guidance. I have found that this way of parenting further disconnects me from my children. I am human and so are they. They need to see how to struggle with adversity and frustration, how to handle strong emotions when we let them take us on a roller coaster ride, how to admit our mistakes and grow from them. Time to say I'm sorry. So, I have an amends to make with Josiah. And the next time my son says an offhand comment to the overtired teacher and mother trying to make it through the last week of school, failing to get to work on time, it will go something like this. Josiah yells, "Mom, I don't want these jeans." To which I yell from the kitchen, "Well, find the ones you want." To which he yells back, "I don't understand. You've had all week to do my laundry." Ugh! To which I simply don't respond. 2 seconds later, Josiah says, "Mom, can you make me breakfast?" To which I say, matter-of-factly, "I don't have time. We are late." To which he says, "I can't believe my own mom won't make me breakfast." To which I reply by walking away, stating calmly, "It's time to go." See, what I have learned through my blowout experiences with my sons is not to engage, not to become reactive. Stay calm and the moments pass quicker. By making amends with my sons, I can say they have put their trust in me, even if they don't always get along with me. They also are learning how to respond better to heated moments when I show them that I have learned to respond calmly. And this is the life of amends. This is the path I've chosen because it helps me to stay true to myself and build really strong relationships. It is hard work and it is emotionally tough. Does it ever get easier? Nope. Is it worth it? Absolutely. You just listened to part 2 of the post titled, "Why Is It So Hard to Say I'm Sorry?" by Katrina Norman of themomchronicle.com. Thanks again to Katrina for letting me share this reflection with you. Isn't it so nice to hear what another mama has learned through her own heated arguments with her children? And dads, keep in mind that this post is just as much for you as it is for the mamas out there. Sometimes, as we all know, it can be really challenging in the moment, but by remaining calm rather than reactive, we're setting the example that we'd like to see later on in our kids. And just a little side note, if you're interested in talking to other like-minded parents out there, go ahead and join our Facebook group. Simply search for Optimal Living Daily on Facebook and request access to join. But with that, let's go ahead and wrap up the week. Thanks so much for joining me here. Have a relaxing weekend, and hopefully I'll see you again next week, where your optimal life awaits.